And you mentioned the Mask of Zorro. To be a part of that too is
incredible,
quite special, huh?
Yeah, incredible. And to, as I said, to be going through New York and Philadelphia and stopping to see Anthony Hopkins doing Equus, and for that show on that you could sit on the Broadway stage for $5 if you were a student, and that's what I did. And I saw him afterwards. Oddly, I was in a coffee shop waiting for my train connection, and I just briefly went up and said, "Hey, I'm an actor. I'm a young student actor," and that was just terrific. And shyly walked away, and he said, "Wait, wait." And he just spoke to me for like 2 minutes. Why are you studying? What are you doing? And all those, questions. And to think, 18 years later, 15 years later, we're working together. It was quite wonderful. Quite wonderful.
Incredible roles too, being involved with Johnny Depp in
Hello,
another one. How'd that come your way?
I auditioned for that, and the audition went very, very well. And the interesting thing about that is the audition, how things change, and you need to be flexible. The guy I auditioned for was originally written. He was sort of a more elegant military guy who was involved in drugs. And but when we got down there was something in the script that didn't really make sense. So Ted Demme and Johnny Depp, they said, "Hey, we're rewriting everything." So you're on the day, you're talking, and stuff is happening, and you just need to be that flexible. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm in a scene with Johnny Depp, and I just got the information, and it's going to be on film forever. So what could be nervous? What could make you nervous about that? But there was a wonderful adrenaline that came with that, and it worked out fabulously. I loved doing it. I loved working with Johnny. He was very inclusive, and he didn't have to be. He was very, very nice to me.
I'd always heard that he was that type of actor. He was inclusive and welcoming, and
we were in a scene together.
Right.
He wasn't. You could see he was taking what I was giving him, and that was how he was responding. In other words, there was a complete loop. As opposed to some stars, they have it set. You could hit them with a baseball bat, and they would not change anything because that's who they are.
It's their routine.
But Johnny Depp, is willing to scratch, which is all you ask.
Absolutely, and of course this role, this was cool too. The curse.
Yeah, this was very interesting. This is Annabelle. This is very interesting because, again, oddly, like Blow, this was decided on. This was not in the script, this scene, but they decided that they needed another scare. They needed something, and so on the day, we sort of worked it out and filmed that. And the way it was lit and the makeup, which was minimal, was only shadow. And just vocally, we created this wonderful. Of course, we had the I didn't even wear the contacts. They put that in digitally.
From Annabelle, yeah, that was incredible. That one,
yeah, that's it. And it was a wonderful experience. I did the junket for that, the press junket, which I had never done before. So we went all over the country, and it's hard work, mind you. Because you're doing the early morning radio shows, and you're doing the late afternoon television.
Is this the morning look or the late night look?
Right. And we traveled with the doll, by the way. So
did.
Yeah. And they were very clever. They're Warner Brothers. They were very clever because all the press junkets, all the meetings with at that time, influencers. They were using influencers at that time, inviting them in as well, were in locations that had a paranormal past. There was something about the past, an event that occurred there. There was a legend associated with that hotel or something. And so they were very, very clever. And it was very interesting. the whole experience.
It's a great thriller too.
Yeah, it really is. Well,
that doll, yeah.
That universe, the Conjuring universe, is quite something.